you now, Congressman Mike Turner is a Republican of Ohio, representing the Buckeye State's 10th Congressional District. He is chairman of House Intelligence. Mr. Chairman, welcome back.
Julie, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. Very disturbing warnings from the FBI director recently about the potential for attacks here in the United States.
Absolutely. I think this has really been an effort by the FBI director to get the word out of the heightened level of threat. He appeared before the Senate last week and made the statement that the terrorist threat for international terrorist groups staging an attack in the United States is the highest it's been in a decade. He came before the members of the Intelligence Committee this week and sat down to explain some of the factors that he's seeing. And we look at the same intelligence, but getting the opportunity to give him to speak to us in a unclassified manner allows us to then to report what he's been saying. And he cited specifically individuals that are affiliated with international terrorist groups that are in the United States, many originating from our border problem and coming across the southern border, and then being very difficult to track, and then very difficult to understand what risk and threat there might be from them.
Wow. And did he indicate that there was concerns about organized attacks or more lone wolf type threats?
He actually highlighted all three of the types that he normally would think of, which is one, lone wolf, as you said, and that's someone who just sees an inspiration from something that has occurred and then undertakes an evil act. Then there are also individuals who are inspired by or get actually a feeling that ISIS, Hamas, or Hezbollah, by calling for attacks, is giving them instructions to undertake such in groups. And then there are actual groups that are here, and that's probably the most troubling aspect. Is that the FBI director is attempting, working with Homeland Security, to track down these people, break down the threat from these individuals, and of course, thwart an attack.
And of course, America is a big target because of our, unqualified support of Israel, which I am certainly not being critical of. But, the U.S. always a big target, but in this case, especially.
Right. There's no question that the world events themselves increase the risk to us also at this time. However, a lot of the things that the FBI director is seeing and that he's pointing to are things that have been in play since last year, even before the October horrific attack from Hamas on Israel. But certainly it brings it to much more greater visibility and the prospects of it occurring because of world events.
Is there anything that Congress or the FBI can do to, head off potential attacks? I mean, obviously the FBI is on the job, but still, the urgency to do something seems great.
Well, and I think that urgency really is that we need to get control of this border. I mean, the discussion that we have between members of the Intelligence Committee and the director really point to individuals that have crossed the border. There are a number of individuals who have been found to be on terrorist watch lists, so they already have identified affiliations. Those who have crossed into the border into the United States, where subsequently through intelligence they're seeing it, they're in touch with or having contact with, receiving instructions, communications with international terrorist groups and organizations. And so, tracking these individuals down, but I think stopping the flow is more important. Mm-hmm. Making certain that we get control of this border so additional people aren't here.
Yeah. So how does it work? Someone can cross the border and then sometime later when they cross-check their name or identification, they find out that they're on a watch list?
Well, some of them are apprehended right at the border itself. And at the time, they're then they're identified as being on a terrorist watch list, and they're detained, and or there's someone who has crossed over that they then subsequently find was on a terrorist watch list, and then they go to pursue them.
And then there's also the possibility, people sneak over and it's never known that they're even in this country.
And that's the big threat, is that we don't know where they're coming from. We know these aren't people coming from South and Central America. These are people who have traveled from around the world. We have people coming from Middle East, Turkey, even Chinese nationals, all of which pose a threat to our overall national security.
It's incredibly sobering. And of course, after 9/11, Mr. Chairman, the government stood up the National Director of Intelligence to better coordinate between these agencies. And are you confident that that coordination has happened and is working?
On the side of counterterrorism, we are doing an excellent job, and I think our intelligence community is working together, and with Homeland Security and the FBI to find individuals, to take down threats, to look for organized efforts that might harm Americans. I do think, though, the complicating factor here really is that the Biden administration has decided to have an open border policy, and that the 7 million people who've gone across the border really overwhelm all of our systems and our attempts to try to impact and keep America safe.
Has the FBI director indicated any likely targets?
He has not, but he really wants everyone to be diligent. But at the same time, making such public statements like this, the director is certainly looking to get both the administration's attention and Congress's attention, so they get the resources they need, but also so that we can get control of this border.
They certainly have my attention. And we get intermittent warnings, to avoid like crowded places or large public gatherings kind of thing. Are we at that stage yet, Mr. Chairman?
I wouldn't say that, but I would say this, that the critical mass threat, the director saying this is the biggest threat we've had in over a decade, certainly is, I think, the foundational national security threat issue that should allow us to have a real discussion as to how we control this border, how we get this administration to stop this open border policy. And we once again try to get control over who's coming here.
Whew. My guest, Congressman Mike Turner, is a Republican of Ohio. He's chairman of House Intelligence. On a lighter subject, can we talk about the Ohio Defense and Aerospace Forum? Because that seems
we
like,
can.
Yes. Tell us about it.
Yes. Well, in Ohio, we have many federal installations. We have Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. We have the John Glenn NASA Center, and in addition, the industrial bases there and the colleges and research facilities that are there are a real opportunity to work together to be able to translate that to greater efforts to impact national security. So we've tried to bring all of these people together in a room who don't necessarily meet on a regular basis. Say, how can we coordinate? How can we cooperate? How can we use this for economic development, but also how can we use it to go to the important mission of national security?
Mm-hmm. And you moderated a panel on the state of national defense. What did you learn? Anything very useful?
Right. So we had there some of the leading positions at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base that are active in acquisition, development, research and development. And their message really was, we need to be able to loosen up our acquisition processes so that we can get innovation into the Department of Defense. The world is changing at a faster pace than what we're giving our men and women in uniform, and we're just not keeping up with our adversaries or keeping up with industry.
And what particular areas have we fallen behind potentially?
Well, hypersonics is certainly an important one where we've seen both Russia and China fielding hypersonic weapons that we had abandoned research in during the Obama administration. That was one of the focuses of, how do we get the aerospace industry to be able to make this leap? Computer systems, obviously quantum and AI are areas of development that are incredibly important. And even materials, making certain that we use the most advanced materials possible to achieve some of the aerospace goals and objectives that we have. And obviously, space is one where we really feel the threat of our adversaries have made it a warfighting area, and we need to be able to respond to that.
So given the current climate, do you think DOD will be able to get additional funding from this Congress?
I think what we're gonna find is that there will be additional funding, but it's also going to be authorities that they're going to get. They need to have the ability to be more flexible, and that flexibility will actually save money, and I think give them that edge that they need in the future.
Really interesting. Congressman Michael Turner is a Republican of Ohio. He's the chairman of House Intelligence. Thank you so much for joining me.
Julie, thank you for having me.
Take care.